Hello, driver.
Listo. I've never owned a V12. I'd say my dream car now is a Ferrari F12 TDF, which is a NA V12, but it's front engine. But I think they're unbelievable, death trap, savage looking things, and I'd love to drive one or own one.
Beautiful. I would go for 812 Competizione just simply because that is the most aggressive looking Ferrari in the world. I just think it's so sick. I'll probably get hung, drawn and quartered for saying this. I actually prefer it over the TDF. I prefer the 812, so sorry. What's happening, guys? My name is Becky and welcome to Motorfest, the podcast brought to you by Red Bull and Ubisoft's iconic game, the Crew Motorfest. This is the podcast where I get to chat with some of the world's leading motorsport athletes and delve into their passions for all things speed, wings and wheels. And the really cool thing is you can actually listen into this podcast whilst you're playing the game. Today on the show, I'm going to be talking to talented mountain biker and YouTuber Matt Jones. He describes himself as a master of all trades and proud philosopher. A quick look at his YouTube, which is 900,000 subscribers strong, gives us an idea of how passionate and dedicated he is about his job, his career as a pro mountain bike rider, and of course his famous love for all things automobiles. He has got quite the incredible garage, and we're going to find out exactly what's hiding in there. Let's start the show. Matt, it's an absolute pleasure to have you on Motorfest podcast. How are you?
Yeah, good. What a time, eh? Yeah, buzzing to be on this. Thank you.
We're going to jump straight into the questions today, which is one question I ask all of my guests. If you could be a car, a plane, a boat or a bike, with or without a motor, which would you be and why?
I wouldn't be a plane. I don't think I'd be a car either, or a bike, because they just live in the back of a van. I think I'd be a boat. It looks pretty chill and just waft around, don't you? And even when you're not being used, you're just bobbing about. I think I'd be a boat.
That's the most interesting reply I've had to that question out of all the people I've spoken on this podcast. Like, oh, be a plane, it's cold up there. Some people are like, yeah, the freedom of it, the tranquility. You're like, nah, it's a bit cold. He's a true Midlander. I always ask that question to my guests because we're trying to see how this choice reflects personality. And for you, I feel like it's very matter of fact. You're very straight to the point. And it kind of, I think the fact that you wanted to be an engineer in a past life before you came to slopestyle riding, it explains a lot, don't you think?
Yeah, that was my plan. I didn't realise mountain biking was a career. I loved doing it. So I had a spot at university in mechanical engineering. That was my interest. I'm quite like maths, physics. And I guess, like you said, maybe a bit black and white personality, but yeah, I've probably become a little bit more colourful over the years. But yeah, definitely back then I was just interested in numbers.
Well, let's talk about your discipline itself. So slopestyle riding, break it down for me for somebody, because I've always been things with motors, and this is completely self-pedaled, self-propelled. So talk me through slopestyle riding.
Yeah, you're right. No motors. I didn't know motors for a long time. It's a gravity sport, right? So you build up a load of speed, ride down and roll in, and you hit jumps. You have to do tricks in the air, as complex and creative as you can think of. Link them together on a series of jumps, because in slopestyle competitions they build a full course down a mountain or through the streets of a city. You do as many bangers as you can in a row, land them all perfectly, and that's how you're judged. So it's a creative, independent sport. It's not a race. You're not really competing against anyone, kind of just against yourself. And then at the end of the day, there's like a leaderboard of who did what.
So how did you get to the point where you were like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to ride really fast off this thing and try and do something crazy in the air with it. Like, how'd you get to that point?
I think incrementally. That wasn't my, it wasn't my desire at all. Although we were chatting earlier, weren't we? I've got a son, a 20-month-old boy, who can't even speak yet, but he's super driven to climb onto things and jump off now. That's all he wants to do. Like, he stands at the top of the stairs with a balance bike, shouting down the stairs. So as much as it's like people say, oh, I wasn't really like that, I didn't plan to be like that, I can see that that is a personality and a trait that people have now. So maybe I was always that way inclined. It took me to discover mountain biking, which luckily there were some jumps in the local woods near my house, so that was a box tick. Have a mountain bike, got one from Halfords with my twin brother on our birthday, and then you do just ride off things and see what happens.
Let's get into the nitty-gritty about your bike right now. So let's talk about the wheels, any fancy features, some DIY mods you've got on there, and the day-to-day maintenance for people that are listening to this, and build up a vision of what your bike looks like to them.
So a slopestyle bike is really basic. It's so much more basic than downhill bikes, cross-country bikes, the kind of shiny thing that people imagine. It honestly has one brake, no rear suspension, just 100mm of front suspension, 26-inch wheels. It's kind of a big BMX because you crash all the time, you bail, they need to be really light. Like mine weighs just under 10 kilos, which is really light for a mountain bike. It's got no gears, so it is really a big BMX. We don't really use carbon fiber much because when you throw your bike at a tree or something, it can get damaged and you don't know about it. So it's mostly titanium or aluminium. It's a really simple setup. It's essentially built for doing big tricks. Like I have to run a really, really long brake hose so you can wrap it around the handlebars so many times because we do bar spins, tail whips, which unwinds it. And then I do like little...
The podcast continues.
So you can wrap it around the handlebars so many times because we do bar spins, tail whips, which unwinds it. And then I do like little bodges, like put a bit of rubber inner tube inside my bottom bracket, which is like between the crank arm. That's to stop your pedals spinning when you're in the air, because you do so many tricks without your feet on the pedals. It all needs to stay exactly where it is. And then people invented these super, super lightweight latex inner tubes, because when your wheels are spinning, their mass is 3 times what it is when it's static. So when you spin a bike around that's in motion, like the gyroscopic forces and things behave really differently. So it's really important to save weight in the wheels and the tyres. So a lot of people are kind of pushing you ground with what they're doing there with inner tube tyres. And yeah, there's a lot of thought goes into it.
So let's talk about the system of the judging and the points, because am I right in saying that this is a subjective sport? So it's down to the judges feeling how many points that they can award each trick, and then it's a cumulative points at the end which gives you who wins.
Yeah, 100%. That's exactly how it works. To like the layman, I always compare it to high diving. You've got this thing you want to do off the jump, and you have to execute it perfectly, and that's easy to see because it's kind of the size of a splash, right? For us, it's honestly down to how your feet are positioned on the pedals when you land, like not really bending your arms and legs, making it look graceful, going really high. But really what you're judged on is the difficulty of your tricks and how gnarly and how risky they are. So a double backflip is always going to score more than just like a bar spin when you spin the handlebars around. And I think the runs that get the biggest cheer from the crowd will often also get the biggest, score from the judges. It is a very emotive sport. You just want to see people take massive risks and almost kill themselves.
So I feel like in a way it's slightly similar to drifting, because obviously that's subjective. We have 3 judges and they're judging you on your speed, your style, your line and your angle. So I can see kind of how these 2 things could be connected with the style of judging that you have in slopestyle riding. Now, do you find that the judges are very critical of your errors? Which
get it this time.
Back to the interview. Two things could be connected with the style of judging that you have in slopestyle riding. Now, do you find that the judge is very critical of your errors, which can sometimes deter people from trying maybe like a bigger trick?
Yeah, that's interesting what you said about drifting. I didn't know how that was judged, so I'm curious about that. We've also got categories.
You know where to find me, driver.
Like trick difficulty,
How about this one, driver?
amplitude, smoothness, cleanliness. So it's kind of broken down in the same way as drifting. But I always think when you start a run, you've got 100, right? 100%. And they're looking at ways of knocking you down rather than building up from zero. So it's super critical. The judges are kind of looking for what you've done wrong, not what you've done right. And that's very frustrating as a rider or an athlete. You're like, come on, I did all of these things. And they're like, but you slipped the pedal on the last jump. And it's probably the same in your sport, right?
Yeah, you start at 100 when you do a run, and basically depending on how far your rear wheels are into the clipping zone, whether they're on the edge, in the middle, or right at the painted line, they will deduct you points as you go along. So you start with 100, same thing, you start with 100, and then they're being super duper critical. And as I say, as a driver, sometimes you feel like saying, you go and do it.
Yeah.
You have a go. It's super difficult. You know, I wasn't sure that my rear wheels at 45, 50 miles an hour were not quite on the painted line at the back there. So yeah, I always find that there's two ways of playing the game. And is it the same in your sport? You can either be super clean and you can just really be analytical with what jumps and what tricks you're going to take to make sure that you keep those points moving, or you go for the big one. No risk, no reward.
Yeah, like there's so many similarities. It's the same thing. You do get the people that are analytical and kind of almost conservative with the tricks they bring to the table.
There is an available event nearby. Shall we?
Back to our podcast.
People that are analytical and kind of almost conservative with the tricks they bring to the table, but they nail them every single time. And those people like stay on tour for years. And then you get these mad dogs that come and go, that are balls to the wall. They might try a trick that's never been done. 9 times out of 10, they fail. But on like the epic day when it all comes together, they like, that's the best feeling when you see someone just rise up to the ranks and do that. I'm sure it's the same in drifting, right? You just get this never heard of driver that just rocks up, smashes everyone, and then they're gone within 12 months. You're like, do you remember that person?
No, definitely. And do you have any tricks that are sort of only done by you, or is there something that you're particularly proud of that you did in a competition that all of the other competitors, right, I'm just gonna go in then?
I was the first person to do a 720 no-hander in a competition. That was in Switzerland. I won that one, which was really cool. And then quite quickly you see other people doing it. Like, 3 months pass, people have seen you do it. That's the inspiration phase out the window. They've seen it, that it works. And then you go to another competition, I'm thinking, I'm just going to bust one of those out and I'll win again. And then 2 other people are doing it. And then everyone's doing it. So you have to be, like, quite far ahead to bring something to competition for the first time. So that was really cool. That was a few years ago. I was the first to do a backflip Superman no-hander. And then with Red Bull, I kind of turned the corner away from competition. So my career very much diverted away from comps and into YouTube, content creation, projects. And that was an even bigger opportunity to get creative and start building my own courses to try tricks that no one's done before. I did like a running gainer off of this drop where I held the bike, did a running backflip, got on it upside down and landed. That was quite cool, and we made a whole, video series about the process of learning that. So yeah.
I mean, we've got to talk about that. What I like watching are your videos on Instagram, where it's that pursuit of perfection is in repetition. So I'm watching you try the trick, and it's like, again, and it just gets a little bit better each time. Like, how many times do you think you have to repeat a trick until you get it bang on and you get that perfect shot for social?
Anywhere from 2 to 350 is the most I've ever done or something, and that was over weeks. It was a sort of trick where I did post this on Instagram, so if people want to find it, it's on my Instagram. But we built 2 logs out of the ground. I did a backflip, took my feet off the pedals on the bike in the air, landed both feet on these separate upright logs, like pillars, swung the bike out in front of me, and then whipped it back down and used that momentum to then go into a front flip off of them, put the feet back on the pedals and landed. So it's like a really cool trick. I could only do 5 to 10 of them a day because it hurt so much to crash. So 35 lots of 10 attempts, it was weeks. We got that one done. I'll never do that again.
And is that it? Once you complete a trick and it's got a particular level of difficulty, you've got the clip of it happening. You're like, right, sound. I've done it.
So it's a sense of triumph, but also the biggest sense of relief. It's like, if anyone wants to try that, good luck to you. I'm not really. Yeah.
Good luck to you out there.
Yeah.
Give it a go.
I mean, it's the same in motorsport, right? If you want to do something really intricate and epic, the risk of getting it wrong is entire new rear end or something like that. So, how many trips and epic ideas have been aborted because of, like, you hit something by 5 mil? Surely loads.
Let's talk about some of the tricks that you've done whilst you're actually at home, which is where you are right now, actually. And in your backyard, if you haven't already, guys, checked out on YouTube, Matt, during COVID, started to build an insane compound, which I actually remember when this YouTube build started, and I couldn't believe like how quickly it caught fire. Like, that was a real moment for your career on YouTube, and how you managed to actually blend slopestyle riding and creating content and change how everything is for you now.
Yeah, it was a mad time. I'd just moved into a house that had an acre of land, and everyone had to stay at home. And I went outside, put a shovel in the ground, and the dirt was pretty good. Like, I've built jumps my whole life, and I realised, like, this is good enough dirt to build good jumps, which already was a massive opportunity. If it was gravel or something, I'd have been grounded. And then just got to work, just with a shovel, stacking up takeoffs, landings, posted the first YouTube video of it, and people loved it. I think I captured this kind of build in your garden thing, like build your dream, set up whatever that may be, and people really loved it, more than I imagined. And then I was fueled to carry on, and literally dug dusk till dawn for 100 days. I remember realising it got to 100 those days. That was like the fork in the road where I realised that's actually what I want to do. I want to build jumps, get creative and make videos about it, telling that story. And then 2 years ago, I moved to a farm where I am now, and I've got more land and more space, and I've got pit bike track, dirt jumps, and this year built a jump sort of almost over my whole house. So that's absolutely what drives me, is building things.
So you're driving a Lamborghini Huracan Performante with a special Liberty Walk performance flavor. You see where I'm going, right? Yeah, your ride's a killer machine. You've got no excuse. Of all the Performante mechanical enhancements made by Lambo, they've added some final homemade tweaks. Huracan is the most powerful car in its class, just like all the cars you're racing right now. You're in the biggest league possible. To sum up, one of the most impressive hypercars ever made, with an extra layer of Liberty performance tweaking. You think you'll be able to control that thing? Watch the car. There's lots of work on it. Gonna push that car to its max speed or what? There, the coast is clear. Show me. Cute path. I'm more used to Tokyo streets mostly at night, but sunny countryside rides, sure, why not? As long as we're driving a Lamborghini. Now drive. Liberty Performance Park. Now you see, the customization world knows no bounds.